Hello, everyone. It's Thursday. Welcome to the webinar. So good to have you here, especially if you're here live. We were just talking about accents right before we got started. So if you're missed out on that, feel free to join us in the live webinar. That was a fascinating topic, which comes down to the fact that I basically hate my accent. I think it's terrible. But anyway, I'll work on it. The other thing I wanted to mention before we get started is Roger Federer is playing right now. I don't know why events are going on across the world. I'm pretty sure everything should be shut down, from banks to everything else, shopping centers. Federer is playing. Why are we talking to each other when Federer is playing? We should all just be looking at the screen. Well, he just won the first set before we started here. So anyway, I'm going to minimize the questions. I'll come back to you. And we're going to talk more about a very, very important topic. I did write about it yesterday. This won't be much of a repeat because I've got some things I want to add and also some numbers that I want to show you. But I'm very much on a mission and I want to talk about it. All right, trading maxims. Very, very, I'm very get uppity on trading maxims. All right. All right. As it says on the screen, remember, I don't talk unless it's on my cue card. As I've talked about many, many times, I like to investigate these trading maxims. Why? Because when I was starting off in trading, these trading maxims meant a lot to me. I wanted to learn as much as I could, as fast as I could, and so I gravitated, like maybe anyone, to trading maxims. And there are several of them: let your winners run and blah, 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 right? I wanted to embrace all of them because I wanted to shortcut my learning and my education as fast as possible. And then as I go along, in my trading career, I start investigating when I have the ability to truly test. And I was a manual tester for years. And then I got automated. I got interested in automated systems. And now testing automatedly is 100,000, 10,000 times faster. So I'm able to look at all these maxims at a rapid rate. So by the way, if you have any trading maxims you'd like me to look into, I do everything I can for you to look into that. But anyway, I digress. The one we talked about yesterday was don't pick up pennies in front of bulldozers, and we're going to expand upon that. But the main reason I get so obsessed with these trading maxims is because I'm sensitive to that because I put so much weight on them. But I have a mission, and we talked about it last week when I talked about the heron. I want to bring everyday trading to everyday people, meaning I want people to have investment options that may or may not know a lot about trading. I'm tired of this, put it in a mutual fund, put it in an index fund. It's so tedious. Why can't the everyday person make money? And furthermore, I consider myself an educated person. I got very, very good grades. I was at the top of my class in high school and in college, or near the top. I've done very well in the schooling that I'm supposed to take, supposed to undergo, and yet I knew nothing about money. I got all the way into my 20s and I knew nothing about money. So this is a really important topic. It is not taught out there. Nobody out there is helping us invest. No one out there is helping us make money turn into more money. And every single thing is so esoteric, meaning so ununderstandable. It just makes everyone feel so small. I hate the fact that the financial industry makes regular people feel small. I do. Or even extraordinary people, whatever that definition is, right? Just someone who has money, who wants to make more money. I feel like that's so impenetrable, and I want to knock it down, right? Now, this is not unlike my journey in tennis, because my axe to grind when I got into tennis was several things, but one of them was you can turn pro and get a world ranking from anywhere. Very similar type of goal, right? So I set out in a very passionate way, never taking days off, staying at the club all day long because that's the only place I wanted to be. But I wanted to prove that you could live in Ohio or anywhere else. And if you got the right instruction and you got the coaching and you showed up every day, that you could turn pro. And guess what? I did it. I saw my students do it. The message was proved. The mission was accomplished. And so, not surprisingly, I'm on this mission, a very similar mission, to prove that no matter who you are or what education you've undergone, that doesn't matter. You can be a pro trader, meaning make the money that pro traders make, and just be a regular everyday person no matter where you are, all right? I'm going to keep talking about this because I get fired up about it, okay? And I don't want these trading maxims to be a problem. I don't want you to hear some phrase in your head and then turn your back on something that might actually solve this problem. I don't want anything to screw up the mission. So that's why I keep attacking these maxims. And I will especially attack the things that are, well, that could really hinder? I was going to say hurdle and hinder. Hurdle and hinder. Anything that could possibly make it difficult for you to get better. Okay, so the one I talked about yesterday, as I said, was don't pick up pennies in front of bulldozers. And I really like this one because it seems like good advice, right? What kind of person would risk being run over by a bulldozer just to pick up a penny? It's not worth the risk. The risk is greater than the reward, right? It just makes sense. There's no reason to put yourself in danger, right? Unless, as it says on the screen, the only time you should put yourself in danger, meaning take on risk, is for a big payoff. Of course we should all take on risk. Or one of our biggest weaknesses, all of us, is that we won't take on risk. Humans are risk averse. And me especially, I'm probably more risk averse than you are. It's one of my weaknesses that I'm working on. Getting better, but I'm still not great. So if you're going to put yourself in harm's way, why not do it for a big payoff? Wouldn't that be great? Okay, I'm scared about taking this trade, but if I make 1,000 and I'm risking 200, that would be awesome. Which is why Tony Robbins and Jack Bogle and Warren Buffett, well, kind of Warren Buffett, they all tell you that you should go for a high risk to reward. Tony Robbins goes so far in both of his books, which I've read, both of them, he goes so far as to say that that's the biggest weakness. Like he whittles it down like this is the problem. We're just not taking enough reward for our risk. Okay? But is it true? Are all these smart people telling us something that's actually true? Is a high reward for the risk that we're taking the only way? Is it? Is it the only way? And again, I'm very sensitive because when I was starting in tennis, there were coaches out there who said, my way is the only way. If you don't hit the ball with my strokes, you will never make it. I teach strokes that the pros use. And if you don't use these strokes, you can never turn pro. And can I give you a guess on how angry that made me? A scale of 1 to 10, how angry do you think something like that makes me? Yeah, exactly. So is high reward to minimum risk the only way for us to get something done? But here's the problem. Are you and I throwing out things that work so that we can follow this trading maxim? What if there's a strategy sitting right in front of us? Maybe it's a strategy you've already looked at. Maybe you looked at it a year ago, but somebody told you, well, it takes 10 pips and it risks 80 pips, so can't do it. Or it takes 20 pips, but it risks 150. Can't do it. What if even, and here's my nightmare scenario, you're trading something and it works and maybe you left something behind? You stopped trading it because some blowhard came on and said, the only way, the key word, the only way to get ahead in this world is to have a high risk to reward or a high reward to risk, if you want to say it that way. So this is a very, very important topic. So if it's true, though, shouldn't it be everywhere? If the only strokes that this guy or girl teaches, if those are the only strokes that work, shouldn't I be able to turn on the TV and see all those strokes? Hey, guess what? Don't tell anyone. But the pros who say that their strokes are the only ones, they're not on TV. Or at least 1 or 2 people, right? Almost all the people who say that, you don't see it on TV. Anyway, that's just a little pet peeve of mine. What we should do, though, is look at what really successful people do, and we should see this repeated over and over again. If a trading maxim is true, they should all do it. And there are maxims out there that work for everybody. So let's be picky in the things we believe, all right? Now, I'm sorry for all the tennis today, but Federer's playing, so you know it's on my mind for the next hour or 2 hours or whatever, however long he plays. This one really bothers me, and I'm sorry if you're not interested, but it is applicable to trading, and I just need to talk about it because we're all friends here. All right. I have seen now for 22 years, and again, I've done a little bit of tennis help in the summer, as I told you. But beginners come to me when beginners, now we're talking about people who are just starting the game. Maybe they started a year ago, a month ago, whatever, and they're just getting started. Like they don't have great eye-hand coordination. They haven't practiced. They come to me, and there is a certain stroke. It's the overhead / serve. Okay, overhead meaning hit it above your head, whatever. Every single beginner, I'm not talking about some of them. I'm talking about all of them. Think about this. All of the beginners come to me and they all have the same form on the overhead. Think about that. How is this possible? Tennis pros all over the state or the Midwest or the country, they don't talk to each other. There are no tennis pro conference calls. How do these people all spit out this exact same instruction? I mean, doesn't that boggle your mind? I know I'm getting wound up, but I can't believe that. Surely, if 1,000 different tennis pros all started in this profession and they all said, what's the best way to hit an overhead? You would get at least 10, 12, 20 different interpretations on how to hit an overhead, right? I see none. I see no interpretation. I see one way. I see no variance. And every single beginner that comes to me, I say, you know what? Not only does that not work, no one on TV does it. Literally no one. Here, do you see the juxtaposition, which is not really the right word, but do you see the problem? Beginners are taught form that doesn't work, that nobody does, but they're all taught it. Doesn't that just, oh my gosh, what if, do you see the ramifications? What if we're all taught trading stuff that nobody who really makes money does, and yet we're all taught it, and it's wrong? I mean, wrong in the sense that it won't work long-term ever, right? The way that the overhead is taught, scratch your back. Throw your arms up, scratch your back. And if you don't know what that is, it doesn't matter. It's 100% wrong. I have spent weeks and months trying to fix people. And as soon as they switch it into something that works, it works every time. So they took something that works 1 to 2% of the time, if that, and they can be trained into 100% of the time. And it's all because people are repeating this tennis maxim, right? That is unbelievably amazing to me. I hope it's amazing to you, right? But the repercussions of this is really, really big, right? How many people have been led astray in the tennis court? How many people then are potentially led astray in the trading arena, right? And even more interesting, why do these beginners listen when they could look for themselves on TV and see that no one does it? Because, well, don't blame the student, only blame the teacher, which I do. Oh, I do. But isn't it weird that the student could just say, listen, I know you're telling me this and you're the teacher and I'm going to believe you, but nobody does this. Why do you tell me to do this, right? Same thing for trading maxims. All right. So is there any contrary evidence out there to this don't pick up pennies in front of bulldozers? Is there? Well, let's look at billionaires, right? Billion is so much money that I'm not sure any of us can really comprehend it. I know we love to throw the word around. I want to be a billionaire, but honestly, it's hard to comprehend $1 million. It's hard to comprehend how much $1 million is. It would be hard to spend $1 million unless you're just a crazy person, right? Spending $1 million would be hard, and you can't just buy a house, right? If you just had to go everyday spending, think about spending $1 million. Now, multiply that into $1 billion, right? Okay. So what do billionaires do? Are they following this high reward to risk? Do they all? Do some of them? Do any of them? Right? Well, to answer this question, I went to the richest Americans I think it was a Forbes.com list, the richest Americans 2016, and I looked at the top 15. And in the top 13, there are at least 3 billionaires. Actually, there's more, but anyway, at least 3 billionaires that do not go for high reward to risk. They simply don't do it. Their businesses are based on not doing that. Okay? Isn't that interesting? And of course, as I said yesterday, the company is Walmart, right? And what is the business philosophy of Walmart? You make pennies on big expenses. Walmart literally does, not literally, but they pick up pennies in front of inventory bulldozers. Ha! Walmart's not slowing down. I know the death of retail is out there, but you know who's doing fine? Walmart. I know Amazon's going to allegedly take over the world. I'm not convinced, but maybe, right? I know Amazon is definitely going to be disruptive. But Walmart's doing fine. Their online business is doing fine. And they pick up pennies on big expenses. So what are you talking about, trading Maxim? Right? Now, are there any problems with Walmart's business plan? Well, clearly not, because they're growing. But anyway, let's say there are. Oh, because there are. If Walmart buys a bunch of stuff and it doesn't sell, they have serious problems. If you only make $1 and you buy a whole bunch of stuff, that's a lot of money going out the door and only a couple dollars coming in. So that's a problem. But has this happened to date on Walmart? No. They're not struggling. Their chart isn't falling. Nobody's crying, right? Making pennies or picking up pennies in front of bulldozers is still working just fine. All right. Oh, but we mentioned Amazon. That's interesting. Amazon, clearly, we can all agree, is the number 1 company, right? It used to be Apple, and it kind of still is, at least in a monetary way. But isn't Amazon going to take over the world and stop retail? Can anyone explain to me what Amazon's business model is, right? What is their model? A whole bunch of transactions and make a little on each transaction, isn't it? I mean, Amazon isn't buying, a soap scrubber for a penny and selling it for $42, right? Of course, they're trying to make a markup, but there's a reason that Amazon didn't make money at first, because their margins are so thin. Well, what does a thin margin mean? Pennies in front of bulldozers, right? And, feel free to email me and tell me that I'm wrong, but I'm making a metaphorical point. There are companies out there, not just Walmart, but companies like Amazon, who also pick up pennies in front of bulldozers. And what about casinos? There's a guy, Sheldon Anderson, it's on the screen here. He made his money in casinos. He's worth $31.8 billion. What do casinos do? They try to make a little bit. You go in and gamble. You're down $50 and you walk away. You go in and gamble and you're down $500 and you walk away. Right? They're willing to give you free rooms and free drinks. That eats into their profits, right? They're not making $1 million on each person, right? They're giving you a free room, $500 a night. They're giving you drinks, $10 a pop, all for the fact they can make a little bit of money in the long run. So aren't casinos also picking up pennies? So all of these billionaires are picking up pennies. It works in business. So don't tell me that's the only way. It is a way, but it's not the only way. Now, let's get to trading. Well, I've talked about Virtu, right? It is a scalping, high-frequency trading company. They try to make micro pennies on millions of transactions. Once again, pennies, 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 right? They had one losing day famously out of 1,200 days. Is that a good business model? I would think so, right? So let's get it down to, maybe your system, maybe you have something, but I have 2 systems that try to pick up pennies. And it's not, obviously not literally, but these are robots with small profit targets and bigger stops. So again, it's going backwards on the Tony Robbins et al. 5-to-1 ratio. Does going for small wins while risking bigger losses work? Well, again, I started making robots 2012. I created the first version of the Hornet late 2013. I have basically been trading Hornet robots since 2014, January 2014, and I have not made any major changes. The robots I trade now, maybe a time dex. They're virtually untouched, maybe 1 or 2 touches and nothing big. So they've been trading since 2014. Maybe that's enough for you. Maybe it isn't. I'm just giving you evidence. You have to decide what's enough. Okay. But let's look at the Hornet, which tries to pick up pennies for the bulldozers, right? The Hornet made, again, small trade size. See that small trade size? 0.15 lots. From 2003 to 2014, the Hornet made $4,900 and a maximum drawdown of $300. Okay? That's a very, very nice ratio. That's nice. So that's 12 years of trading, right? 3 to 14. And that's about $400 of profit each year, right? 14 times 4 or whatever, right? Got it? On a $600 account, which that would be risking a 50% potentially max drawdown. So that's not for everybody. But let's say you have a small account, you want to be adventurous, okay? On a high risk-taking account, that's a 66% per year. No compounding, just resetting every single year, right? That's massive, actually, right? But the reason I'm not too keen on this because 2008, 2009 were awesome. If 2008, 2009 ever come back again, anyone who trades this style is going to be very, very happy. So let's throw that out. From 2014 to now, which again, these Hornets, or the Hornet that I'm looking at, I'm just looking at one robot. I said plural. I meant one. I'm looking at one Hornet robot. From 2014 to now, virtually untouched, unchanged for now, going on 3 years, has made $900 of profit with a max drawdown of $220. Okay, that's about $257 per year, but that drawdown has dropped, right? Max drawdown up here was $300, so it's dropped to like $220. So it is making less in the last, since 2014, but it's also drawing down less, okay? Whatever, same trade size. So that's about $257 per year on a very small account. And that includes a very crappy July 3rd trade, which I may never trade on July 3rd, July 4th again. So crappy. But those numbers include a massive loss that could have been easily avoided. But anyway, that includes this loss, okay? And that was just a few days ago. That's still 43% per year, which is phenomenally amazing. 43% per year if you're aggressive, if you'd make less if you want to risk less, right? But that's 43% per year picking up pennies, okay? So now, what's the Hornet doing this year? And actually, the person I'm referencing is here today. You know who you are. Bonjour. Is that French? Do you speak French in Switzerland? Anyway, I'm speaking it. One of our lifetime members has been so kind to send me his MyFX book link. And I emailed him earlier and got permission to show his account. And even after that big loss, which we all should probably avoided, this lifetime member is up 23.88% for the year. And he started this in January. At least that's what he shared with me in his MyFX book account. So it's about half of the year, right? So this is 23.8. If you cut this in half, right, that is greater than half of 43, right? 21.5%, whatever that is, right? So it is ahead from 2014 to now, 2017, even after the loss, is ahead of that. So yet there is a live example of the Hornet, in other words, pennies, picking up pennies in front of bulldozers, small reward, higher risk. We have business examples, and now we have a robot examples, and one robot that's been trading for years with virtually no changes. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is don't blindly believe what you hear. Do not let these trading maxims stop you from making money, from growing your account. Always investigate or have someone investigate for you. Hire a private investigator like me who will investigate these trading maxims on real live charts. Always find out for yourself. Billionaires have been made by going for small profits and high winning percentages and big losses. As long as those percentages stay high, as long as Walmart controls their inventory, and they are masters at it, as long as your trading system wins at a high rate, 70% or above is a very good guideline, as long as your percentages stay high, going for pennies always wins. It is a great way to do business and a great way to trade. Now, last thing I'm going to say, I'm not saying the opposite. I'm not taking this trading maxim and throwing it out. Going for high risk to reward or a big reward to little risk is not a bad thing. It isn't. It is a great, some people have made millions. Yes, I agree. Apple, for example, their margins are super high, right? They build something for cheap and sell it for expensive. So that does work too. My point today and a little bit in yesterday is that they both work, right? So the maxim shouldn't be don't pick up pennies. The Maxims should say, there are many ways to become rich. Picking up pennies in front of bulldozers or not picking up pennies, right? It shouldn't be don't do it because you can. But if you want to have a high risk to reward, that is fabulous. And yes, it does work. And later in the fall, I will be coming out with a new training course that does that. Trend following. Trend following is that. So both work. But do not let anyone tell you that picking up pennies does not work. And last thing to keep in mind, even if you're like a 40% winner, you're going for 1,000 pips and you're risking 200, and you only win like 20, 30, 40% of the time, if that winning percentage drops, you also lose, right? Just because you're going for, a 70% win, you say, well, if it doesn't win 70%, then you're screwed. Well, if you need a 40% win rate, you get 20%, you're also screwed, right? If the system breaks, it breaks. It has nothing to do with picking up pennies. Does that make sense? Bottom line, both styles work. You just need to decide what works best for you. All right, let's take a look at some questions and then we'll wrap it up for the day because Federer's playing and we want to get back there and watch them. We all do, don't we? Oh, New Zealand. All right. Business philosophy of Walmart. Destroy mom and pop. Well, that is another darker side of Walmart. Yes, absolutely, Ron. I don't shop at Walmart personally. I'll just leave it at that. Andrew says, Andrew, use small guys to figure out what sells and then undercut them. Yes, I'm not a big fan of Amazon either, but I do use Amazon. Yeah, anyway, we'll talk about business some other time. How have the live heron results measured up to your expectations? Andrew, good point. I did interview the heron robot the other day, and well, that didn't go that great. We got to a fight. The heron robot is living up to expectations, and I have not enjoyed it. No, not that I haven't enjoyed it. I have that set for a very, very big max drawdown. I have the trade size up pretty high. So I'm willing to see that go down 30 or 40%. And it's down a couple percent or whatever it is. It's taking a bunch of little tiny losers. And again, July 4th, it took a trade that was a little loser. Just don't trade during that time is what I'm thinking. But anyway, it's 100% living up to expectations, but I'm a little bit impatient for it to work the way I'm 99.9% sure it works. So I'm fine with what the heron's doing. I just want it to win. I'm just a little impatient. And Ron says the heron is ready for a big run. The numbers say the heron is ready for a big run. It does have several winning streaks. So we had a holiday weekend. I'm barely down in it. I'm not disturbed by it at all. But I would love to be able to put a winning percentage up on that MyFXBook account. There's no doubt about that. But it's performing very typically. There's nothing wrong with it. All right. Anyway, great questions. All right, let's wrap it up. Latest updates, the heron course available. We'll talk about the heron again soon, but it is available, blah, 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 you can find it. Still working on the martingale. I'm still working on the TradeStation version of martingale, so I'm hoping to be able to present some stuff on that. My book, as always, is up. We're up to 780 now on YouTube, so thank you, everybody, for subscribing to YouTube. That does help, and also it is a great way to get the recordings of these webinars. There is some contact information, and as always, everybody, thank you for being here. Always look forward to Thursdays, and I hope you do too. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.